Now that was very beautiful. That is very beautiful indeed. Pardon? Lights back here, so by all means. If you want to turn them on. Yes, I told you about that.
Yes, yes.
Yes, fine. I gave the secret away, really, nevertheless. And of course, this meditation you've done now is a meditation that's in existence for about 5,000 years. And it started off in Tibet. Well, we don't know if the Tibetans got it from the Indians or the Indians got it from the Tibetans, or they might have got it from the Atlanteans. That's not important. The whole idea is the effect. How many found their mantras to be entirely separated from the sound of the gong? Beautiful. Lovely, lovely. How many found that when the gong came on, if there was a thought in the mind at that time, the thought just vanished immediately? Beautiful. Good. And how many found that when the gong came on, they smoothly slipped into the mantra? Beautiful. Lovely, yes. Good. Well, I could ask many questions on this, but I'm sure you'd like to have questions and answers from your side. Nevertheless, these various stages that you have experienced are all in meditation, but various levels of meditation. Some were at a lighter level, some a deeper level, but they're all progressive and they're all beneficial. How many of you can say you don't feel refreshed? None. One? You don't feel refreshed? Pardon? Oh, you had a headache already when you started. Oh, what a pity. Should have come up to me. Nevertheless, it is definitely very relaxing, and our aim in meditation is not only the physical and mental relaxation, but a greater diving deep within. What also happens with this kind of meditation is this, that a person feels a distinct separateness in ourselves. This some might have felt here tonight, and of course many will feel it more and more. This separation takes place between the small I and the big I. The person can become so identified with the gong, with the sound of the gong, that the small I can be observed acting. And in the sound of the gong, as you float away with that sound, you can distinctly feel yourself separate as a small little I, the small entity. And there you experience big I, the real I within yourself, in full consciousness. So, in full consciousness, we experience the big I, and with the big I, we observe the workings of the small I. And as we get deeper and deeper into our meditational practices, these things would happen, where the whole function of the body would be observed entirely as if you were a separate being. Fine. Now, this could carry on very well into the daily waking life, into daily activity. Now, what happens by this would be that you would have a background of experiencing bliss and yet be involved in all kinds of activities and yet be non-attached to any activity around you. So when we reach that stage, we will be living in the level of being, the true being, which is us. Fine. Now, these are all practices that lead a person to those levels. Good. I would definitely recommend that when you have a practice like this with an exterior sound, it should always be done in a group. And I do hope that as all the various centers open up as we are doing in Cape Town at the moment, for example, that they would have their weekly group meditation meetings, and this any sound which is exceeded to the mantra should always be done in a group. It becomes more powerful, and it is something which is shared. What happens is this, that underlying stop people recording. Something is feeding back with people trying to record the lecture, and it's interfering with the master tape here.
Does anyone have a tape recorder in here right now that they're recording with? Okay, better shut those off because it's probably having an effect on this recorder.
Okay. Yes, true. We don't want any interference in the sound of the recording, because a copy of this will go to all the various centers throughout the world. It would just be fair. Good. Now, I think we'll leave it open to the floor, and you can ask any questions you like, and of course, we can go onto it from there. Okay.
Thank
Gururaj, I expected to be able to think the mantra at the same frequency as the gong, but I couldn't find the note. Has the gong got just one note, or has...
Firstly, you said you expected your mantra to flow with the frequency of the note. Now that is wrong. In meditation, we don't expect, and neither do we align our own personal mantric vibration to the vibration of the gong. So as soon as you start expecting something, that means you're trying. And when you try, the whole effect is lost. The whole purpose of meditation is a pure innocence, and you just experience things as you would experience them innocently without trying anything. All right, fine, good.
You speak about experiencing things innocently. If you reach a stage where the larger I is always observing the lesser I, while existence is being experienced, doesn't one lose the innocence of focused experience?
No, one does not lose it. I tell you why. In meditation, you would experience that the larger I is observing the smaller I. In the waking life, while the larger I is observing the workings of the smaller I, it is also interpenetrating the smaller I, because it is only the energy and power radiated by the larger I that makes the smaller I function. For example, we could never lift our hand without that energy or that power. We could never blink an eyelid without that power. So it is not a separation. It is not in the separation of two things existing apart. It is a separation in the sense that the smaller I loses its importance. Most people live within their egos only, where their minds and bodies assume all the importance that there is, and all suffering in the world is because the ego self of a person, or the small I, thinks that I am the doer. Really speaking, it is the power behind us, in us, without us, which is actually the real force behind every action. If your stove at home is burning or your refrigerator is working, the stove or the refrigerator cannot say that I am working on my own. It is the electrical current flowing through the stove or the refrigerator that makes it work. So what happens is this in the process is that man gradually becomes conscious, experiences rather the electrical current that makes his body and the mind work. So by experiencing that, we are going to the essence within ourselves. So that is what is meant by experiencing the bigger I, observing the smaller I, and in that way, the realizations dawn that that this mind and body are so insignificant to that electric current that is within us, that universal power, the divine power that is within I. And by that recognition, it changes our complete perspective towards life. We forget this me and mine, good, which could take away so many conflicts from our lives, where all the battles that we have is just because me. All the importance is attached to me. We feel that the whole universe, I am the center of the whole universe, and the whole universe revolves around me. And because of that attitude in life, that attitude is causing all the suffering. Now, through these practices, where we find the universality within us, we find a real divine energy and know that those things which the mind and body wants to possess are not so important. They are perhaps a necessity, a means to the end. And when these realizations dawn in every aspect of life, then life becomes more and more joyful, more and more joyful. Because here we are not only recognizing the mental and the physical aspect, but we are also recognizing the greater aspect in man, the spiritual aspect. And as I've said so many times before, that a total man is a man that could live all three aspects together. So, ego would be the one that prevents or precludes or shuts off the electric current, although it is there working. But when the ego or the small I realizes that all this is happening because of that divine power, then we can integrate within ourselves, infuse within ourselves that beautiful joy. In other words, the divine power, its nature is joy. Then everything becomes more and more and more joyful and more beautiful. Me and mine disappears. All strife and hatreds disappear. Because if joy permeates within us, divinity is permeating us, then where is there place for any hate? Then there's only love. Or pettiness goes away. Fine. Okay.
Gururaj, I find for the last 2 or 3 years I have not transcended. Does it matter?
If you have, the question is that for the past 2 or 3 years, how long are you doing our practices? A month or two? Yeah, but June, July, somewhere there. Yeah, fine. For first 2 or 3 months, you have not transcended. Now, of course, we have checkers here that could check your meditations for you. You can always make an appointment with Amrita Gita. And of course, go systematically through your meditation. Perhaps you're making a mistake in the use of your mantra, or perhaps the method could be wrong, the technique might be some little alteration, or perhaps you're trying too hard, or perhaps you're trying to improve upon it. There are many, many reasons, and it'll be difficult just to give you one answer for it. We have to go deeply into the matter ourselves and then transcend. Sometimes the blockage is so heavy, perhaps, that it might take a longer time to be able to reach the transcendent. It might take a longer time because of the blockage, and then we might not be approaching our meditations as it should be approached. No, these things should be understood. No, these things are given to you in the first check and the second check, and after meditation in the first and the seventh check, and all those lectures and tapes. All these methods are given. But nevertheless, if there is a personal problem, I think our people here, our counselors, are capable enough to go into deep details on the matter. Okay, fine, good.
Thanks, afterwards. Guruji, sometimes during the meditation, there is a point, like a sound barrier, where I'm scared to go beyond, and I sort of pull back, as if I'm going to fall down to
Yes. Yeah. Sometimes during meditation you might experience a sinking feeling. Sink. Yes. Have no fear whatsoever. Have no fear. It can never harm you. It can never really harm you. And if you feel like falling down, do fall there. Fall, sink. It's very, very beautiful. Yes. And if you sink, you won't drown. Not in meditation. No, that is very good. It is a very, very good question, that. Don't try and stop yourself. Yeah, you see, by trying to stop yourself, the mechanics are these. What you're doing is we are going beyond the mind in meditation. Now, by stopping yourself, you're activating the mind. That means you would float on the mental level, and stopping yourself from going beyond the mind level. You see, so please, if you do feel that way, don't be afraid, just let yourself go. And you'll have a very beautiful experience. And this is a fairly common error. The error because of the unknown. Where will I sink to and how deep will I go? Because the mind cannot comprehend or does not know the depth of the ocean. And that, of course, a fear might well up in some people's minds that the ocean might be so deep and the pressure there might be so great that I can't surface again. But such a thing could never happen. Oh, yes. So when it comes to the push of really sinking, do that. Do that, please. Yes.
next.
I want to ask if one is expected to transcend regularly.
One is definitely expected to transcend regularly. I expect you to transcend regularly. But if you do not transcend regularly, there's nothing to worry about, because the body chemistry is not the same every day. Sometimes one might have had a very big heavy meal and then you sit down to meditate. That does interfere. And there are very, very many active factors. You might have gone through a really harrowing day. So still meditation would give you a relaxation. I mean, it's every time a person sits down to meditate, there is some benefit at least, even if it's on the physical level of relaxation. But if one approaches meditation in a better frame of mind, more quieter mind, then of course you can transcend every day, yes. Not necessarily so, but ideally so, yes. Yeah. So, today we're going very short with questions, fast, aren't we? Good.
One.
Can I just ask this, Gururaj, a prompted by this gentleman over here who said he felt as he was shopping. During meditation just now, I was fine for about 14 hours or so. And then I felt as though I was just being drawn up and up and up. And I began to feel rather dizzy. And I just felt I was way up above myself. And sort of cut off. And I felt very dizzy about this, so I mentally stopped, and I just sort of stayed up there until you brought it to an end. I didn't quite know what to do, and I felt so completely uncomfortable, but I just thought I just sort of let it go.
Correct. You should have really. Oh, it never happened before. I see. Well, the group meditation was definitely very good for you. Yes, yes. A certain power is generated when people meditate in a group. Now, I will go into deeper details on this. I want to finish off some surface questions first. Why group meditations are good. In your case, what happened? You tried to analyze. You also tried to analyze that I'm going up and up and up. Huh? That was a recognition. And that recognition caused a jerk there. You jerked yourself in the recognition of going up and up and up. Now, if you had just to allow yourself to go up and up and up, you would have really gone up somewhere. Okay. Good.
Yes, right here. Yeah. Does someone back in back one is what you imagine? So here's first.
Something you just said prompted this question. I came to BMS 3 months ago, never having meditated before. 2 months ago, had initiated in the personal techniques. And since then, the little I has been going through an extremely rough time. Would it be possible to explain a little more about this and how long does it last?
Beautiful, beautiful. The little I has been going through a rough time. Now, now, which eye observes this? There's the question. The little I itself thinks it is going through a rough time because when the big I sees the little I going through a rough time, the big I becomes very happy. The big I becomes very happy in seeing that the little I is coming to some realization, that the little I is recognizing its shortcomings and its weaknesses, and that the little I is now ready to face those shortcomings and weaknesses. And I mean, we are all in good company, 99%, 0.999, we're all in the same boat, so nothing to worry about there. So nevertheless, this is a good thing happening because the small I realizes by itself through the power of the big I our shortcomings and failings. It sort of presents a mirror to ourselves and say, look, here are periods or areas in my life that I can improve upon. So therefore, I always say, and have always been saying, that meditation on its own is not enough. Half an hour, 20 minutes in the morning and the evening gives us the strength to face ourselves so that in daily waking life we do make some conscious effort to better the areas of our life. These are the basic principles. In other words, the effort, conscious effort is made that leads us to what we could call self-help. Self-help. Because if we don't help ourselves, no one can. And no one can evolve you. You have to evolve yourself. It is within the framework and the laws of nature that man must evolve himself. There's nothing else that could evolve him. And gurus and various practices are but guides. Practices are techniques that leads one to the full recognition of one's small I until one goes beyond one, until one rights those faults or frailties, and then from there live entirely into the big I. And that is the ideal of all mankind, and it is within the scope of each and every one of us here to live entirely the big I value, even in the existence of the small I. And then the small I will not have the little battle that it's having. You see? And these things are good. These things are good. Where a person comes to a recognition or a realization of the shortcomings, face them, and do something actively to improve them. The analogy I used in one of these talks somewhere, I said, let's say if a man is a drunkard, he can't do without a bottle. Now he can meditate 12 hours a day, but in his waking state, if he does not make an effort to push the bottle a bit further and further away, then naturally he won't be able to have the experience of sobriety. So with meditations, there must be some conscious effort for the betterment of ourselves. The meditations help give strength for the betterment, and as the betterment occurs, the meditations to improve. They work hand in hand all the time. And as we find the gradual improvement through self-help and meditation in our lives, we become permeated with greater and greater joy. And that is the process. It's a beautiful process. The dirtiest washing too has to be beaten, for the, I think the housewives can tell us, in the washing machine the thing turns, something like that, and takes the washing out, but the material is not damaged. The material is not damaged, just the dirt is shaken loose. We want that.
Simply just 1 second.
Okay, carry on. It's fun tonight, really.
How many think they've been through the ringer? I took the microphone because I wanted to ask a question, actually, not to make my statement, but the person who brought up the question, because we've had some discussions together, I mean, you've actually told me this on several occasions, that you have recognized that certain of those specific things were long-standing things that had come to the surface, and you were working and making some progress and some breakthroughs on those issues. And the question I wanted to ask people at this point, this seems like the appropriate point, how many of you have noticed, since starting the practices, the full techniques? Now, this could have happened to some extent in the preparatory practice, but particularly with the full technique, that there have been certain areas in your life where you have had long-standing problems come much more to the surface. That is, where in a sense you're forced to face them and deal with them, whereas in the past you may have been able to escape dealing with them. And you feel, say, in the last several months, you have recognized these things and actually made significant progress in breaking through on some specific problem or some specific issue. How many have felt that? That's close.
Yeah, so that just shows that the meditations have been successful for you, and which is good. It is something beautiful to share, and as people increase in this joyfulness, that is my joy.
Sit down. Let's do that.
When problems come up, do we take this as a sign that this is the path that we should take? Or is this something that's in a way that we're over?
Nobody puts anything in your path that you have to overcome. It is you that put things in your own path. Yes, if you have to go through to a certain destination, there's only one road, and that road is muddy. Then you have to go through that road, even if your shoes get dirty. On the other side, they can always be washed. When there are two paths, then of course one has to go through a particular analysis of the two paths, and the two paths in your case might not be necessarily the two paths in someone else's case. So therefore we have competent counselors with whom you can discuss that here I've come to the crossroads now, that I've been faced with my weaknesses. Now there are two paths I can follow. Now these are specific things which is done normally at the center. Here, of course, things should be more generalized and not really specific, applying to one person only. But nevertheless, your question is very valid, because one does reach a time. I mean, in ordinary, even say non-meditators, I mean, there's not a single person in this world that could have come to that would have any problem, and there are two paths open, and then they are at a loss to decide which path I must take. And this refers not only to meditators, but to everyone that had to decide. Okay.
Someone wanted a question back here. Yes, question.
Would you say that one then found we're not having any problems, that therefore the meditation would facilitate?
So, brother, if a person did not have problems,
The person wasn't having problems if the meditation was not working for them.
no, you can't say that. No. Then your mind have been more freer. It would, you might be at a certain stage of evolution where problems might have been less and therefore not experience any problems. That could be so. A certain stage of evolution does not necessarily mean a higher stage, but journeying from here to another city, there might be a few rough patches on the road, and you might have crossed them already before. Yes.
What does one do when one finds oneself in rather a situation, a place, where you have to maybe live, maybe work, or maybe at least spend a lot of time, with people who you don't get on with at all? You really can't get very involved in totally opposite things, and into other situations that just don't seem to fit in at all with your life as you think that it ought to be led. How do you kind of cope with that kind of situation? I've personally had it going on now for about 8 months, recurring every time I've gone somewhere. There's something, it's just not good at all.
And you've been to many places and found the same.
And either I don't get on with people, or there's always something blocking me from feeling content.
Do you really want me to answer that? Someone wanted to have a nice meal, and he went to about 8 different restaurants. And at every restaurant he went, he could not just get any taste of the food. That one restaurant, the food was absolutely tasted. The next one also tasteless, the third one, fourth one, fifth one, tasteless all the time. And then, of course, he thought, all these restaurants can't be so bad. Perhaps my taste buds are not functioning properly. That could be also the case. That could be the case. But I can say one thing, that if we strengthen ourselves, then we can face every adversity very, very beautifully. And as a matter of fact, the more challenges we have in life, the more can we progress in life and overcome those things. And perhaps those challenges are put there for certain realizations, certain breakthroughs for you, whereby you can gain greater and greater strength. Yes, so this man whose taste buds were not working, later on after proper treatment, he found that the food at all the restaurants was very tasty and good. Yes. So it is always a process of self-examination, and through meditation, our problems are brought face to face to us. Yes, and we tackle them the best way we can within our limits. The whole idea is that the direction must be changed, the direction towards betterment. Then at least something has been accomplished. And once the direction is changed, and as we proceed in the direction of change, we do become stronger and stronger. And those things which seemed not too good to us before, the environment which was not too good to us before, might seem entirely different with greater strength gained in us. Okay.
If people are continually negative,
You want to here first?
You said if you had a problem, go and see a counsellor who around us. I wonder if you'd say a little bit about counsellors, because I found most of the counsellors that I know, just a kind of an ordinary meditator, just the same as I am, really. And I don't feel, I kind of looked at the word counsellor in the dictionary, I've said to impart wisdom or advice, and I would really expect to perhaps go to someone who's very sort of far down the path, really, for wisdom, rather than, what I would, unless you can sort of sort this out.
True, yes, that is a valid question. Yes. Yes, do you wish to? Yes, by all means, yes.
Okay. Now, we're in the process of working out a program.
This was supposed to be another talk.
Right, this is to be in another talk, but this is for the, right. Since you brought it up now. We're in the process of working out a program which is designed to train counselors. And you can you hear now? Okay, the question was that the person was concerned because he said people that he felt were ordinary people, ordinary meditators, were being appointed as counselors, and he thought of a counselor as being someone that had a certain level of, say, spiritual maturity, someone that was imbued with wisdom, who could give out that kind of wisdom in a counseling situation. The answer to that is yes. Now, what we're attempting to do presently is to create a program for training counselors, which is already well underway. And this program presupposes several things. Now, first of all, there are 3 different levels in which people will be functioning as counselors, okay? The first level will not be called counselors, they will be called preparatory instructors, okay? Now, the preparatory instructor will be able to impart the preparatory practice, which is done for a month, and to give introductory lectures, and to do organizing, and to run a local center, this sort of thing. The next level of teaching will be a counselor. The counselor will have the ability to check people in their full practices. That is, not to initiate into the full practices, but to check people in their full practices, and also to do individual counseling, okay? And then the third level will be full counselors, those who will be actually initiating into the full techniques, as well as doing full counseling, running deepening courses, and things like this. So there will be 3 different levels. Now, first of all, whenever a person comes to they decide they would like to become a counselor, someone wants to become a counselor, the first question is what their level of spiritual maturity is at that time, whether the person is spiritually right for the kind of work. Now, this is something that can grow with time. If a person was at the right level, they could become a preparatory instructor. Now, they might be that for 3 months, or they might be that for 3 years, depending on how long it takes them to mature to reach the point where they're ready to function as a full counselor, and then they would move on to become a full counselor. Other people, from the very beginning, right as soon as we find them, they're right, spiritually they're right for becoming, say, full counselors. So they would move right in and start working as full counselors once they had received, of course, sufficient training. I mean, there's certain basic training that they would have to have. And this is the basic thing. Now, part and parcel of this will be developing a link, a vibratory link with Gururaj. This is the Guru Shakti aspect of our teaching. That is, that the teacher who is imparting the techniques will have reached a level of spiritual maturity such that it's possible for them to have a very pure vibratory link with Gururaj, so that when they're actually initiating into the full techniques, when they become full counselors, the power of Guru Shakti will be able to pass from Gururaj through the counselor directly to the person who's being initiated. So the answer is, the people that you're speaking of are not yet counselors or full counselors. They're training to become preparatory instructors. The people who are presently functioning as counselors, we have about 12 of them right now. And right, and I'm sorry? Oh yes, they're just checking at the moment. there are many, many things that we have to work on until we've completed our counselor training program. But first of all, the person has to have reached a certain level of spiritual maturity. That's number one. And then secondly, they have to have certain skills, which presuppose that a person has to have certain natural abilities to function as a teacher and as a counselor. But those two things have to be married together in a very integrated way for a person to become a counselor. Okay? Does that answer your question? So.
Nevertheless, many of these things were supposed to have been discussed at a special meeting, but Amrit has given you a brief answer, because there are certain special qualities required for a person to become a full counselor, and just not anyone could become a full counselor. Nevertheless, whenever there are any difficult problem, it does get referred to me by them immediately. Yes, and I intend to come to England very, very often. Yes, I intend to do that.
Speak up.
You can't.
Did I say just now? I want to focus on a situation that are harmful and negative effect on our connection. Especially when we're kind of young, we're still not very developed. How we can tell the difference between a situation like that or a situation that was sort of a challenge for us to overcome.
Oh, that you'd know very well. You'd know that very well. You see, ours is a spiritual counseling, and the full counselor could tell you immediately, where your problem is and where your problem lies. If it is on the physical level, which is just something organic, he'd very easily tell you, look, go to a doctor. Yes. You can have a spiritual doctor, a physical doctor, and a mental doctor too. But a spiritual doctor has the ability to be able to advise you on all three levels very, very efficiently. A full counselor can do that. But now, when you talk of being able to discriminate what kind of problem you have, well, if you can't discriminate yourself, the differences in the problem, if it's a growth experience or if it's some other kind of experience, then it's always best to get advice from someone who knows, instead of delving in it oneself and becoming more and more confused. Okay. Right. Perfect.
Right here, and then we'll get you.
Well, I'm lost voice.
I have a particular problem. Meditation has come really between me and my husband. How can I combat this really? When I say come between, it's not with a certain amount of feeling, because he does not.
He doesn't want you to meditate.
Physically, no.
There too, of course, it's a very personal problem. The question was that meditation has become between me and my husband. My husband does not meditate, and of course he doesn't want me to meditate. Now that's a personal problem. In that case, what the counselor would do is analyze the whole situation, what is causing the friction, and perhaps through you could approach the husband and explain the husband the benefits of meditation, and then he might want to meditate too. That would be the way, really. But it is always difficult to say it has come between one. It's yes, I understand what you mean. It's a fight of wills. So it's a kind of stubbornness on someone's part. But meditation could be explained to him. Even the introductory lectures explain what meditation is, and it's very, very beneficial for everyone. And some people, because of certain ideologies, do develop a certain resistance to it, and the resistances can be overcome. The best thing to tell him would be, do not believe. We don't want anybody to believe that meditation is good. Tell him that the proof of the pudding lies in the eating. Give it a try. Yes, and if a person resists against something, there are many ways to overcome that, but then one has to know the specific reason. And of course, you'd be best suited to know that yourself. And of course, the problem can be brought to Amrit or Gita, who would be able to assist you on that, and or whichever. Yes, after making an appointment, of course, because they've got a whole day going morning till night on that. Sometimes they work 16, 18 hours a day, really. Yes, fine.
Can people's negative thoughts, you said thought is very strong, can negative thoughts sort of do damage to us if people are having negative thoughts about a specific person? Can they retard our growth?
Other people's, is the question, other people's negative thoughts, can they harm you? No, definitely not. Other people's negative thoughts could never harm you because the negativity of another person's thoughts cannot penetrate your thoughts. It cannot penetrate your thoughts because you are an entity unto yourself. If you talk of influencing, if another person's thought influences you, that is a different matter altogether, whereby you are being influenced by someone's thoughts. But when it comes to negativity, and especially a kind of harmful negativity which you recognize to be harmful, then those harmful thoughts could never harm you. It never ever will. And meditators will experience this more and more as they go on, that they build up such a strength and resistance that any amount of negative thought thrown to them can never harm them. There's a lovely little Indian story. There was a yogi living at the end of the village. We call them sadhus, mendicant, fine. And he had a habit of wearing a turban on his head. And this was a very old tattered turban with a lot of holes in it. Now this village had one road only, through which everyone had to the other side of the village. There was only one road. Fine. So this sadhu, this mendicant, started from the end of the village to go to the other end. And as he was walking, he was getting a lot of criticism. Someone said, oh, the sadhu is this, and someone else said that the sadhu is that, and a lot of criticism. And the more criticism and negativity that was thrown at him, the more were the holes in his turban being mended. So by so by the time he reached the end of the village on the other side, his turban was whole and healthy. So sometimes when a person thinks negatively, of us, they are doing us a favor. They are taking over some of the loads of our vibrations onto themselves because they are tuning their minds to us. So what we should really do is respond to them with love. That's all we can really do, and thereby help them at the same time and become stronger ourselves at the same time. Okay. Yes.
My question's just been answered.
Right, should we act on thoughts in meditation?
Should we act on thoughts during meditation? No. If you act on thoughts during meditation, you're not meditating, you're contemplating. But the thoughts you receive during meditation, should you act on them during waking state? Is that what you mean? Yes. Now, the thoughts one gets during meditation, it all depends upon the purity of one's, meditative powers and to what deeper levels you have reached in meditation. They could be at very, very surface levels, and the thoughts received. You have to analyze, have you really received the thoughts? Or And if you have received them, from what level of mind have they come? Have they reached the real bottom where the spring is that gives water to the well? And these things come through discrimination, a certain amount of discrimination. And when one is very, very well established in meditation, then you will find and you will feel that each and every one of those thoughts are so powerful, it just rings through. And when it rings through, you will automatically know that these thoughts are intuitive thoughts. It comes to you as a form of knowingness, and acting on that, you cannot go wrong. But things that are received in meditation, and if they're not at a very deep level or the subtlest level of the mind, and if they are at a level of the mind which is not really pure, then those thoughts might not be pure and they could be very misguiding too. So a lot of discrimination is required on the person's part. Okay, fine.
Gururaj, you said that harmful thoughts against you cannot hurt you. Is it not true that loving thoughts towards you
Can be.
can help you?
Yes. Yeah. No, it is not a contradiction, it's paradoxical. Yes. The gist of the question was this, that if negative thoughts cannot harm you, then why can loving thoughts benefit you? Yes, it's a beautiful question really, but it is not contradictory. It is paradoxical because thoughts of love are engendered by one's deeper self. The deeper self is a purer self and a more powerful self. So they can help. They can help because they are mingling with the deeper self, the deeper level of yourself. So they can stimulate, encourage, and unfold more. But when it comes to a negative thought, the negative thought can never touch the deeper levels of a person's self. They are shielded off. There's a barrier there, a wall there, so therefore no harm can be done. And this is a misconception by many people. Yeah, of many people, a misconception that, so-and-so, Auntie Jane or Auntie Joan is thinking bad of me, so I will be harmed. It is a misconception, and the harm has come because of this wrong belief. In reality, the negative thoughts of another person can never harm us, but if we start believing that those negative thoughts are going to harm us, then the harm will be done not by those negative thoughts, but by the negative thoughts that we are engendering, that we are creating within ourselves. You see, so some of these misconceptions and rather superstitions must really be got rid of. Let people think what they want to about us. If we are sincere in our paths and make ourselves stronger, nothing ever can harm us. And as we said before, it is paradoxical too. As we said before, that no one can evolve us. We have to evolve ourselves. And no one can de-evolve us either. You see, so it's no contradiction. Right. Okay.
Yes, Tony?
Should we make deliberate attempts to control negative thoughts that we have and alter them into positive thoughts? If we hate somebody, for example, should we try and change that into love? It sounds a bit odd.
Beautiful question, yes. It is, we don't try and convert the hateful thought to a loving thought. It is superficial in that way, and it's actually impossible. You cannot convert a hateful thought into a loving thought. You can't do it. It's impossible. What can be done is this. How to convert the hateful thought into a loving thought, the mechanics are these, that you objectify the hateful thought. Hatred dwells up in your mind or heart, wherever, for someone. Now, if you can look at that thought objectively, objectifying a thought means you bring the thought outside yourself and you observe the thought. Right. And by observing the thought, automatically the thought itself will lose its power. Now, if the negative thought loses its power, now nothing can remain a vacuum. Now, if there's a little dent in the negativity, it has to be filled up with something else. It gets filled up with positivity. So, by objectifying the thought, objectification also includes analysis. So by analyzing that thought, objectifying it, looking at it as if it is there on the cinema screen, the power of the negativity gets lessened. And as nothing can remain a vacuum, as I said, then it gets filled up with positivity. So the process is there where the hateful thought could turn into a loving thought because it is the same energy that powers hatred or love. It's the same energy. It's just a matter of turning the direction. So anytime we feel negative, if we can objectify it, I do admit it is a process that cannot just be done overnight. That is very true. But by doing our meditational practices regularly, we develop that ability. And that, incidentally, is one of the first abilities we develop, objectification. That separation we talked about just now, where the bigger eye sees the workings of the smaller eye and spanks it. Yes, yes. These things happen, and that's the way it is done. The energy in love and hate is the same, but just the turning of the direction. Now, if we try to forcefully change that hatred into love, we might be doing ourselves a lot of damage. We might suffer of inhibitions, repressions, because we are artificially trying to cover up the hatred or the negative thought. And by covering it up, what we are doing is sinking the weed deeper into the ground, and it will flourish again. See? So, by converting it, not burying it. Like it? Okay. Fine.
We can have just one more short question, and then tomorrow there's all the time in the world. We've got 4 more meetings to cover questions, so don't worry, everyone's question will get covered. One more short one.
Oh, well, this one is more or less in the same subject.
Yeah.
It's just about a couple of kind of rumors that I've heard that tie in with this. And one is that if a person uses certain mantra or even your own mantra, not your own, their own mantra, towards you in a harmful way, that it can harm you. And the second part was also that I've heard people say that certain colors can affect you in certain ways. And I was wondering how and why.
But I'd like to question the person that brought those rumors because there's no truth in it.
From a few people, for example, that one color has bad vibrations, that it can harming is.
No, it is just also a matter of superstition. And if you believe that if you have the rose in your bedroom, you'll suffer from insomnia, you will. Yes. And if you believe that by having blue color in your bedroom and you'll sleep well, you will also. You see? So this is just mental conditioning, which we spoke about in so many other lectures. This is all just mental conditioning. So these rumors are entirely unjustified. And that very person that spoke about this, if I could meet that person, I would like to put his mind right on this matter so that it would benefit that person, because the one that spreads such a rumor is one that believes that. Right. And if he believes it, he's doing himself wrong. And by telling others this and doing others wrong, he's adding a lot of karma to himself and doing himself more wrong. Bring those people to me. There's no truth in it. No. Nobody can use a mantra against you. No. They can't do that. Now tonight was a night, it was just a night of, we could say, chit-chat. That was tonight. Just answers and just a free exchange of thoughts and short questions and crisp answers, because many of these questions we could have gone into much, much deeper length and, taken about half an hour, gone into greater philosophical depth. So we still got 4 more lectures, and in some of them we'll do the short answers, fine, and some of them we'll go into deeper philosophical levels of matters. Okay, so this course will be very, very interesting and very, very joyful. Yes, it will be. Good. So.